Hello everyone and welcome back to Cracker Jack Cards. Today I'm with my friend Caden, Pure Collector on YouTube.
Yep.
Go check out his channel, he's got a new channel on there. But today we will be interviewing Dan Ardell, a former Los Angeles Angels player. And we've got some questions for him. I've been kind of anticipating this for a little bit. I did a couple posts about it before. But we're going to be asking him questions, a little interview, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
Yeah, enjoy.
You want to ask the first one?
Yeah, so, alright Dan, so in your early life, what inspired you to play baseball?
I have a twin brother,
Yep.
and I have a father that was a big baseball fan, and he started us playing when we were 4, and
Okay.
then after World War II, have to go back a long time, obviously, there was no Little League.
Mm.
And my dad and a few other fathers in L.A. Started a Little League, and so at age 10 or something like that, we got into organized baseball, and I enjoyed it, and I did well with it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Alright, so then what was it like playing with your brother in high school and college?
Very interesting. We did not play college together. I went to USC, he went to UCLA. And the LA Times, the main newspaper here, at one point, my dad would sit on the SC side for half the game and the UCLA side for the other half. And they showed a picture of him with this look of bewilderment as he was trying to figure out who he was going to root for. So that was something, and those were the days that SC was totally dominant. And we couldn't play as freshmen, couldn't play varsity as freshmen in those days. So as a sophomore, we played against each other, and then I signed after my sophomore year. But in high school and Little League, Pony League, and what we called American Legion at the time, it was great playing with him.
Yeah. Alright, so I noticed when I looked online that you served in the military. What was that like?
Well, I graduated in spring rather than summer. We had 2 different semesters you could graduate in LA. And school wasn't going to start till September. So at that time, it was called a reserve program where you could go in for 6 months of active duty, and then you were on reserve for the next 7.5 years. So 2 weeks out of high school, I was at Fort Ord, which is up in Northern California. That's closed now. And had just my brother and I both had played basketball also, so we were in pretty good shape. So when we went to camp, it wasn't as bad as it would have been for somebody else. But I was in what was called the Fire Direction Center for Artillery, where we would guide. I was pretty good in math, and we would guide where the missiles were supposed to go. We didn't have to get out in the middle of all the battle, but it wasn't anything that I enjoyed or anything that I didn't save the country, let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, my sister is in the Air Force Reserves right now.
Oh boy, well you kind of know from that perspective then.
Yeah. So now getting into like more of your MLB career and your minor leagues, what was your favorite career memory?
My first full year, I played in San Jose, and in June I got beamed. I got hit in the forehead just above my right eye, broke the orbit in the back of my right eye, a bunch of things, was not good, concussion, etc. And 6 weeks later I was playing, and we got into the championship game, and I knocked in the winning run in the championship game.
And that was in San Jose?
That was in San Jose, yeah.
Oh.
What would you say was the... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was going to add one other one. That when I first started, when I signed with the Angels, they gave me a bonus of $37,500.
Wow.
And we didn't have any money. And that was so much money, I spread it over 5 years. So I was playing in Artesia, New Mexico. And in those days, the nice thing about Artesia was when you left. That was the absolute high point. That was not a garden spot. So in that league at that point, Albuquerque and El Paso were also in that league. And we played a doubleheader against El Paso one night. And I hit a ball over the scoreboard that nobody had ever done before.
Wow.
Probably 450. I mean, one of those that just doesn't happen, but occasionally happens. So those are kind of the two that stick out. One other time that I was a pinch runner with the Angels, and I was on third base. And when I played at SC, we'd won the College World Series, and we had the coach at the Centrum. He was really something. And so I learned the game, and I did for my dad too. Really learned the game well. So I'm on third base, and I watch the pitcher, and I'm absolutely convinced I can steal home. And so I tell the third base coach, I can steal home with this guy. And third base coach said something that started with F, followed with U. And I realized that I probably wasn't going to be stealing home at that point.
All right. So who would you say was the toughest pitcher you ever faced?
If you look at my extensive record, you can see that I think I got 7 total at bats. 3 of them were against Claude Osteen, and I was left-handed, and he was left-handed. And I struck out twice and grounded back to him once. So that was by far the toughest of the 2 or 3 pitchers that I faced. But also in the minor leagues, the guy that hit me, his name was Howie Steathers. He was another left-hander, and obviously he hit me instead of me hitting him.
So here's kind of an interesting question. Did you ever have a pre-game meal, or what would you eat before a game, or was there anything they'd eat before a game?
In those days, we would go to the ballpark maybe 2.5 hours before the game. And when I was with the Angels, I was running in the outfield to get warmed up. And one of the coaches said to me, "That's really a good idea." We did nothing, meal-wise, nothing, workout-wise, anything in those days. And at one point, there was a local gym that offered a membership to anybody playing with either the Angels or the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a pretty good idea, and told the coach, and he said, no, we don't allow guys to go to the gym because they'll become muscle-bound.
Well, that's what my dad always says. He always says that he thinks players these days lift too much, and that's why they get injured so often. But I don't know.
I can follow on that story because I had a chance to talk to Bob Feller, whose name you guys may know was one of the best.
He was really good.
And I asked him why so many guys get hurt, particularly pitchers. And he said, I don't know, but I'm going to guess that in our day, because we didn't make any money, we had to go sell cars or insurance or something.
Yeah.
Today, they go 24/7. They never let their bodies rest. They never let their bodies heal. So that was his guess. So, kind of what your dad might have suggested, and I think the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense at all, the number of guys that are getting hurt with the medical attention, with all the knowledge they have today. I always kind of wonder why quarterbacks' arms, why these guys aren't going down all the time.
Yeah.
And, other things. But, yeah, clearly it makes no sense on how bad these guys are getting hurt, particularly the pitchers.
Yeah. So would you say you and Tom Satriano are close? I noticed that you guys played together at USC and later with the Angels.
We did. We both signed at the same time. No, we were not close. He was a year ahead of me. Really good guy. He lost an eye to a champagne cork.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then became a CPA, and very smart, very good guy. But no, I would not say we were close.
So, who do you think your favorite manager was in your whole career, whether that was high school, college, MLB?
My coach in high school, who also played for this Rod Dato, the coach at SC, was great. And then Dato was, to give you an inkling, I played second string at SC. I was in the majors 60 days later.
Wow.
Just to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And I think I'm 83. I think of him 2 or 3 times a day.
Wow.
What I learned from him, and it wasn't just baseball.
Yeah.
And it's like teachers. You guys will look back and very seldom remember a class, but you'll remember the teacher.
Yeah.
And there's only 1 or 2 that come into your life that are just wonderful. But this guy, I'll give you an example that I told Dave Winfield, and I can't remember how many other guys. Never heard anything remotely similar. We'd won the College World Series. We went over to Hawaii and played the Japanese champions. I was on deck. Runner on third, 1 out. Ball hit to medium, maybe even medium shallow left field. So no way the guy's going to tag up.
Yeah.
Well, he tags up. I get up there, tell him to slide, double play, out by a mile, inning over. I lead off the next inning and strike out. And Dale would he would fine us for mental errors. So, and he called everybody Tiger, and he would always have a little smile because he's also very funny.
Mm.
So, Tiger. He said, that's got to cost you a quarter. Now, in those days, the mental fines were anywhere from a dime to a quarter. So this was serious.
Yep.
And we didn't call him coach, and we just called him by his first name. And I said, Rod, I struck out a number of times this year. You've never fined me for that before. He said, Tiger. You didn't look too good. He's laughing. You didn't look too good. But no, I'm not going to fine you for that. But last inning, what was your job? And I said, you mean on deck? He said, yeah, what was your job? And I said, to get up there and tell him to slide. Tiger. Which side does he slide best on? I don't know. Tiger, how many games have we played this year? And I said, I don't know, maybe 60, something like that. And he says, so what you're telling me is you were not paying any attention. You had no idea which side he slid best on. Is that correct? It was like a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I said, yes. And he said, but did it make any difference which side he slid on? I said, no. Now, it just struck out, so I'm not pleased anyhow.
Yep.
And he's working me. So, and the other guys, of course, are laughing. They just think it's great. So I said, no, it didn't make any difference which side he slid on. Well, Tiger, if your job was to get up there and tell him to slide, and it didn't make any difference which side that he slid on, what was your job? And I'm just done. He said, Tiger, you had to anticipate that he would tag up. Second, you had to anticipate that he'd be out by a mile.
Mm-hmm.
Third, you had to anticipate that because of that, and because it didn't make any difference which side that he slid on, you had to get him in a rundown, Tiger. Now, I've already fined the third base coach. I didn't fine the runner because he did what he was told to do. But Tiger, that's got to cost you a quarter. So I will guarantee you will, even at my age, never hear another story like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I learned from the master. He was the equivalent of, the name John Wooden in basketball, college basketball.
Yeah.
He was voted college coach of the century for a good reason. Let's put it that way. He was really, really good. He would take us when we first got there. Now, this is the number 1 team in the country with guys that have been there from seniors all the way down to, in those days, sophomores. Each position, he would tell us what the catcher's thinking, what the pitcher's thinking, what the first baseman is thinking. We had a rain out at Cal, and he got a chalkboard, he drew the diamond, and he said, it's the 6th inning, we're leading 2-1, you're on second base, what are you thinking and why? And so it was stuff like that you just can't compare to anybody else because they didn't think that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the baseball side, there's a lot of good baseball people. He happened to be a very good baseball guy too. So if you look at his record, I think SC won the College World Series 5 years in a row. They've won it 12 times compared to anybody else that's, I don't know, 7 or whatever. And I think he won 5 or 6 of those. So, and his major league record was the exact same as mine, 1 for 5 or 1 for 4. So,
Wow.
yeah, small world.
Did he play in the MLB?
Yeah, he did. He played for Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So let's see. So who would you say kept the clubhouse pretty loose during your career?
Probably Bo Belinsky. Does that name mean anything to you?
Yeah.
I've never heard of him, have you?
Yeah, I have.
He was off the charts and threw a no-hitter. Probably was drunk at the time. He was, in the kindest words, a character. Let's put it that way.
Pretty funny.
Oh, you're very funny.
Yeah.
And stupid. So, a typical baseball guy in those days.
Yeah, yep. So, kind of getting after your career, what was your life like after baseball?
Well, I was 23, and before I got fired, I quit because I hated the life.
Yeah.
Boring, around a bunch of guys that I didn't necessarily want to be around.
Yeah.
And so I had taken real estate and business in school, and I finished school in the off season at San Jose State. And I wanted to learn about real estate, and I wanted to be in Southern California. And one of my teachers said, if that's what you want, you need to go to Union Bank for their training program. And I ended up going to Union Bank, got on their training program, and stayed in real estate all my life.
Wow.
Yeah, so it worked out.
Do you remember the first time you got fan mail? Like Caden sent you?
No, I don't.
No. Do you enjoy getting fan mail?
Not really, because you don't know who it's from.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be, but now you don't know whether somebody's trying to set you up or whatever. And
Yeah.
Kate, your letter just felt real, and that's why I responded to it.
Yeah.
But I get probably, I don't know, 1 or 2 requests a month, something like that. The one thing that is interesting, there has never been a single time where a self-addressed stamped envelope was not included.
Yeah.
Zero times where that's not been included. But I've had guys make a card. I have no card
Yep.
from Tops because I told them I wanted $10 and they would only give $5. So I think I'm probably the only major leaguer to not have a card. But if you look back on that stuff, fans are very different today than 60 years ago.
Mm.
All right. Let's see. What would you say is the best advice you can give to a young ball player like me and Jack?
It's really simple.
All right.
Fundamentals. Take ground balls, take fly balls till your feet and arms fall off. Are you both hitters or pitchers or?
He pitches. I hit more.
I don't really play baseball anymore, but Caden still does. Yeah.
Pitchers throw strikes. I mean, it is so trite and so stupid, but it doesn't change. As far as hitting goes, go with the ball.
Yeah.
Hit the ball where it's pitched. And again, trite as can be, but I remember talking to Ted Williams at one point, and I said he was a dead pull hitter.
Mm.
And I asked him, what do you do when you get in a slump, which he didn't have very often, but when he did, he said, very simple, I hit it back up the middle. And I said, why? He said, it forces me to watch the ball because the ball's coming from the middle. And then I would try to hit it back up the middle. But there's no magic. I was really good, and I wasn't close.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys today, they ask, people ask me, are they as good as you guys were? And I said, no, they're way better.
Yeah.
There is no comparison today. These guys, I mean, the guys that are playing at a D3 level, some of them are really good.
Mm.
But if you want to play professionally, it is really difficult.
Yeah.
Really, really difficult, because there's just so many. When I was first starting, there were very few Latino players, very few black players, very few Asian players.
Yeah.
And there were only 16 major league teams, so you had, much less opportunity because there were just fewer guys playing in the majors. But with all the travel leagues today and all the stuff, when guys get done with high school, they may or may not be capable enough to play at a college level, but they're much better prepared than we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said that you talked to Bob Feller and Ted Williams. Where'd you meet these guys? Where'd you talk to them at?
Williams, going way back, this would have been 1959, 58.
Oh, wow.
The Dodgers were playing in the Coliseum in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason he was there. He was the first manager with the Washington Senators when they recreated their team in 1961.
Yep.
And he knew our coach, and so we just got to talk to him. Feller, I think, was selling insurance or something, and I was a so-called bonus baby.
Yep.
And he found me somewhere. Then there was another time, because again, that other question that I asked him was much more recently, obviously. But he told an interesting story. He said, in the days when he was before I was, and in those days, many of the teams only had 4 starters.
Mm-hmm.
So they were throwing 35 to 40 games a season.
Yeah.
And he said, I think he had 2 games that were not complete games. And they didn't do pitch count, but he went back and figured he threw about 150 pitches per game.
Jeez.
With 34 complete games.
Jeez.
Yeah. And I don't think he ever had an arm problem.
Yeah.
So again, just very, very different from today.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into, do you still watch baseball today? And if so, like, what team do you root for?
Well, it ends up, I live in Orange County, and the Angels are here. So they've been my team always.
Mm-hmm.
So I live about 25 minutes from the stadium. And I don't go to a lot of games anymore, but I still watch the vast majority of the games. But other teams I don't have much interest in.
Yeah. Let's see. Who would you say were some of your favorite teammates from your career?
Favorite what?
Favorite teammates?
Teammate?
Yeah.
Chuck Tanner. Name that you probably wouldn't know, but he was with the Angels at the end of his career when I was there. Went on to manage, I want to say Pittsburgh or something. But it's so different. In those days, you didn't get a lot of coaching. That's why at SC it was so good, because we not only had the great coach, but he was a great communicator too. But Chuck was one of those guys that helped the younger guys. Another guy named, you may or may not remember, was Albie Pearson. Albie was 5'5", 135 pounds. And pound for pound, Altuve, or, you can compare him to a couple of guys. But another name that if you look him up, I think he was Rookie of the Year, and just a really, really good, nice person, was there to help others.
Yeah. Let's see. So what would you say was the coolest stadium you ever got to play at during your career?
Well, since my career was so extensive, I'm trying to remember where I played. I played in Comiskey, the old Comiskey.
Oh, yeah.
Played in Wrigley Field, is where the Angels played, but it was Wrigley Field in L.A. rather than Wrigley Field in Chicago.
There's a Wrigley Field in LA.
Chavez Ravine.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
It's been torn down, but it was built in the late 1920s for the Pacific Coast League, which was going at one point to be a third major league back in the 1950s. There were some of the players in the Pacific Coast League getting paid more than major league players.
Wow.
So they knew they had competition, but that's another whole different story. Based on my limitedness, I would have to say it was Wrigley Field in LA.
Then this one is kind of an interesting one. I've asked a few players. Do you have any like superstitions or like special pregame like rituals?
I did not. I think the vast majority did, but no. And in fact, until about 10 years ago, I didn't even know what number I had because I just didn't think that way.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's changed a little bit.
So on your team, did anybody have like weird superstitions or pregame rituals?
Oh yeah. I mean, there was voodoo. There was anything you can think of, depending on any number of things. So some guys would not change the socks. Some guys would always have a beer before. Some guys would, could have been anything. But yes, and all the superstitionness that you hear about definitely used to take place. I don't know if it's still true today or not, but when I was playing, the vast majority of guys were superstitious.
Did you ever try to like get into coaching or scouting after your career or anything like that?
Ever try to what?
Get into like coaching or scouting or anything like that after your career?
I coached a Little League for one of my sons. But no, again, because I loved playing the game, I didn't like the life, so that would not have been attractive to me.
Yeah.
And, coaching Little League, it wasn't my life. But no, I did not, nor would I have wanted to.
Well, that's about all the questions we have for you.
Well, I have one little tidbit that nobody knows about.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
You guys will get a chuckle about. You will look at each other, and my statement will catch you off guard.
Okay.
I am the only guy in the history of MLB. I shouldn't say that. The records only on this particular stat only go back to 1948.
Okay.
So I am the only guy, at least from 1948, who only got one hit, and the one hit was a walk-off loss.
A walk-off loss.
Oh, I think I remember reading about this. Is it because the guy, when you got your hit, got thrown out at second?
Yep. He rounded second. In those days, pitchers were pinch runners.
Yeah.
So I hit a Texas leaguer, Al Kaline, happens to be the right fielder in Detroit. Makes a perfect throw to second. There's 2 outs. It's the 9th inning. We're behind. Guy rounds second, tags him out. I'm standing on first, hitting 1,000. We just lost the game.
That's a pretty good story.
That is a good
I did
one.
not know that. That was really cool.
I had a bunch of guys. There was a reunion of anybody who ever played with the Angels.
Yep.
And Bobby Gritch, I don't know that name or not, but one of the pretty well-known Angels was the MC.
Yeah.
And he made me get up and tell everybody that story. And the guys in the room just roared. Just thought that was the funniest thing they ever heard.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't
No,
believe
you
it.
wouldn't have any idea.
Yeah.
That's a tough. I didn't know until, I don't know, 10 years ago. Somebody had Googled me, and somehow they got into depth, and there it was.
Huh.
So I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, guys, I've enjoyed this conversation. Good luck on what you're doing, and maybe we'll catch up in another life or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on here. It was a pleasure to have you on here.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, guys.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.